All right, guys, we are back again with episode number 5 of the Full-Time Grinders Tennis Talk Show. We're very lucky today. We have Nick Beaty. Just a little background on him. He won a state singles title, won a state doubles title, won a state teams title with Wazetta. And this last year, he was playing for the Michigan, and the team Michigan got up to a team high of number 8 in the country. And he finished the season off with a 19-5 record in singles. So awesome, Nick. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. So how was the past season?
It was good. Yeah, just kind of continuing from where we were talking this ago. It was definitely a weird year with COVID, as anybody who's involved in sports in the past year knows. Like we had a 2-week pause in the middle of our season because we kind of got shut down because COVID got bad in the county. And then, we weren't able to play like an out of conference schedule. So that made it a lot tougher, trying to get a good ranking and trying to get as many matches in as possible going into like the end of the season. So it definitely had its challenges. And, there was obviously so many different protocols this year, trying to go compete in other places and other states and other schools, as well as just different, just more budgetary restrictions and all that kind of thing. So it was definitely a lot different than the other years that I've been a part of it. I was a senior this year, or it was my 5th year actually. So, but it was still super rewarding though. I think it was, even though that it made it more challenging. I thought that, you learn a lot through those kind of tougher things that are out of your control for sure. And it was still super fun. I mean, being involved in a team sport with a group of teammates that are super fun. I mean, it's just a total blast. So it was good. It was a good year though.
Yeah. It's always nice with the college tennis, and tennis being such an individual sport that those times you could be on that team wherever you are, it just makes it so fun, especially when you're on a good team. That always helps too.
Yeah, it's about the most fun you can have if you're a competitive athlete, to have it to do it with a group of all your best friends. What it turns out to be.
Yeah.
It's been one of the major. I mean, it's been like the highlight of my life, being able to play on a team like that. I mean, high school tennis was a total blast, but in college, I mean, that just gets notched up even, the intensity, the energy, the spirit, the passion for it, the pressure, the good pressure that comes out of that. I mean, it all gets notched up, and which makes it so fun, so entertaining every day, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So what, just to kind of take back, like, when did you start playing tennis? Like, how old were you about?
I was probably about 5 or 6 or something, but I started just like anybody would. Just parents signed me up for lessons or just to stuff. It wasn't like I was like had parents that played and stuff. It was just kind of more of a hobby. And then as I got older and got more into it, when I was probably like 9 or 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, getting up there in that age, I started like playing tournaments and stuff just because I loved it. And so I started competing in tennis pretty early, probably like 8, 9, 10. And then went all the way through. Now I'm 20, 23. So it's been a long time.
Nice. Were you part of the red ball progression and all those colored ball progressions, or were you
I'm an old man in that sense. We didn't have the different like compressions and stuff. I was doing yellow ball right away, I'm pretty sure.
Cool.
At Crosstown.
Yeah, Crosstown. Yeah, it's very different now with these kids. They have these, shorter courts, red ball, yellow ball. Yeah,
I think it's great. I think that's good. I think,
Yeah, makes a big difference with their strokes and stuff at a young age.
Yeah, so you can finely tune the stroke a lot easier without that weight of the ball and without that weight of the, like there are the old videos of like Djokovic or something playing in like Serbia. He's got the adult sized racket, or it's tough. It's good that they have like they've adjusted the weights and the sizes for weights and sizes of kids, and so that makes a huge difference for sure.
Yeah. So earlier you touched a little bit on playing tournaments, and it kind of leads me into my next question. I kind of wanted to talk about when you were 14 or 15, what did your tennis training look like in regards to maybe how many days a week you're hitting, how many tournaments you're playing, and stuff like that.
Well, 14 or 15, I was pretty serious about it. I was playing. I mean, it was my main hobby, and it was my main thing that I did. I mean, it was like
Mhm.
school and tennis at that point. I played. I mean, I played almost every day, and I played tournaments as very often. Probably every week, every weekend, every other weekend for big chunks of the year, and then obviously in the summer it was the same kind of commitment too, playing almost every day, usually for longer than the summer with no school, and then tournaments, and then at that point in the summer too. Well, I guess in the fall, spring as well, traveling around and playing some national stuff too. That was just, I was really lucky that I had a certain level of skill at it, that I was able to play those tournaments. And then, once you go and play tournaments locally and then nationally, that really opens your eyes to both what you are capable of as a player, but also what's out there and what you can be capable of if you make progress in your game. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure. It's always nice to go play those nationals so you can be like, okay, how do I stack up against these
Totally.
guys up, from different parts of the country, and like, what do I have to do to improve and get to that level, right? Or beat people at that level and stuff, huh?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. That was super important.
Was there any at that age? Did you do any sort of like off-court training or anything like that, like strength training or agility training, or?
I think I started lifting and doing more stuff outside of just hitting balls probably when I was going into 10th grade. I was like ninth, 10th grade probably. So I don't know
Mhm.
what age that is, maybe 15,
Yeah,
14,
something
15,
like that. Yeah.
right around there. So I started, I mean, I don't know if I'd even fully gone through puberty yet at that point. I
Mhm.
think I started like lifting weights and stuff. And
Yeah.
that actually was really good. I thought that was a huge benefit. Going into like my sophomore and junior year, I got a lot stronger and kind of physically grew up a little bit from being more of like a boy into filling out a little bit more. And I mean, obviously not much. I was pretty skinny still, but all that stuff plays a huge role, especially as you get more competitive and you get to a certain level. All those things add up into feeling stronger and more confident on court and playing better and hitting the ball harder, hitting with more spin, all that stuff. Super important.
Yeah, the strength training's big. I always felt like when I was lifting and got stronger, I just could be stronger like on the ball, and like if someone hit it hard shot back, you could kind of use your body to help, fight it off better.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you really notice a benefit from. At least I have in my life. And it sounds like you did too. It's like
Yeah.
when you're lifting and you're in that kind of rhythm of doing it, let's say you're lifting 2-3 times a week, you definitely feel more, yeah, you feel way more solid, you feel more sturdy, you feel like your your endurance is better too. It's just such a boost to your game when you're like activating those muscles like that and putting on muscle. It's that's a super helpful thing in tennis, even though I
Yeah.
think people wouldn't maybe consider it or wouldn't think about that.
So Nick, for those of you that don't know, Nick is a lefty, and that's always big to know that lefties like, when you're a lefty, what are some shots that really benefit you on the court, or what are some patterns of play that like maybe you're looking to do? I know with some of the lefties we have in our program, I always say work on that slice serve on the ad side, just because he pulls people off the court, and it's like that different
Yeah.
spin really makes it tough on people. But is there any other things that like maybe you look to do as being a lefty?
Yeah, well, I really like the serve thing because that's how you start. I mean, when you're serving, that's how you start every point, and you can. I think lefties have such an advantage because it's just a numbers thing at that point. There aren't as many lefties as there are righties, so people aren't really used to it. So when you can sling a like a slice serve out wide, people aren't really used to dealing with that. They aren't as comfortable with it. And I think going slice T2 and getting somebody stretched in the middle of the court, you're going to get a ball in the middle every single time. You're going to get a ball in the middle pretty much every time that you can then work the point with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a big thing for my game is, and I'm not I'm not like a very tactical player in terms of, how I'm thinking going into points, almost probably to a fault. I think that's actually something that I'm working on, is having more of a plan going into points. But a big one for me is setting up my lefty serve to get the ball that I want on the next shot, and always feel like I'm in control of the point. Just because my defense isn't as much of a strong suit as my offense is. But I would say probably serve wide and then find the forehand, serving tee, and then finding a forehand in the middle of the court that you can open up the court with. I think a big one that I'm working on as well is using forehand angle. I think lefties have a pretty unique ability to like see angles and open up the court with their position, but where they can put the ball to. I think that's just kind of a general thing that is agreed upon that lefties are capable of doing.
Mhm.
I think using your forehand and angling, using like a short angle and opening up the court that way, and making your opponent run from side to side and then up and back as well.
Yeah.
Is like a skill that I think comes pretty naturally to a lot of lefties. And I think using that kind of unique ability to help you is huge.
Yeah. So kind of like from like the inside outside, like maybe inside out short angle with that spin, or the would be on your ad side, the lefty short lefty cross court
Right.
spinning it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Rather than just trying. I was just gonna say that. I mean, rather than just, I get in the habit sometimes of trying to just power through guys, just hitting kind of big through the middle, rather than angling off one way, or taking the ball inside out and actually aiming for like kind of the service line and going kind of a shorter angle to get somebody really stretched out. Maybe I can sneak in, or maybe go open court with the next ball, or go behind them and then come in. So there's, I don't know, just putting yourself in a really good position to stay on top of the guy and not let him back in the point, and then play on your terms has been huge for me. My game.
Yeah. Something that I kind of had written down, and I don't really know because I'm not a lefty, but is that down the line backhand a big shot? Because, if someone a right-hander goes to your backhand, and that ability to take it right down the line to their backhand, is that something that you look to use ever?
Yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. Because you can get if you're going, unless the guy is looking to just do a backhand line kind of battle, they're going to end up trying to make something work going the other way, and then you get a forehand again.
Yeah.
And then it's on your terms again, because my forehand line is actually sometimes better than my forehand going cross too. If I go backhand again down the line to the guy's backhand, he tries to open up the court and go to my forehand, and then I have like a whole way more options on my forehand side than I do on my backhand side, which is more limited.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge shot for lefties for sure. Just hitting a neutral ball to their backhand and then making something happen and finding their forehand.
Yeah. Nice. Next thing is kind of like, tennis is such a mental game. Do you have any like big tips on maybe how like you incorporate your strength into the match, or anything else on the mental side that like has really helped your game?
Yeah, that's so much of it. And it's something that I am still trying to figure out. And I think nobody really figures out fully their whole life, probably. If anybody had the answer to being like as mentally, like just a mentally completely solid and strong player, then they would be rich. But I think for me, a big one that I didn't understand in juniors that I wish I did, because I would have had more successes, being able to apply the same kind of intensity and focus and desire to each match that you play, no matter the location of the match, no matter who you're playing, no matter what the conditions are, no matter, if it's a first round or a final, no matter if it's a level, trying to remember the USTA system of tournament again, but no matter if it's a level 7 or like a closed, or a level 2 or whatever at baseline, being able to kind of show up in the same way every time. That was something I didn't know how to do when I was younger, and I sort of figured out later on that at a certain point I was like, geez, I'm not good enough to just show up and to just let it happen. I had to actually mentally stay very locked in and engaged and aggressive every match that I played, or I wasn't gonna have success. And in college I wasn't gonna be in the lineup then. So that's something that I figured out just through experience that I wish I had kind of realized earlier on, because it would have made my life in juniors a lot easier, and I would have been a lot more consistent had I been more locked in, in each match I played and had a similar approach every time. That's just one thing. There's a million mental battles in all sports, but tennis especially.
Yeah.
No,
it can get tricky out there sometimes because as we know, tennis players, it's always tough to be locked in on every point and things like that. Yeah.
It's impossible to be locked in on every point, but I think there's ways you can, no matter how you're feeling, you can trick yourself into bringing at least a certain level of engagement every time. You can you have to have a standard for yourself that if you're not feeling like it, you have to make some kind of adjustment or some kind of change. Start bouncing before the point. Go to your towel and really feel like you're okay. Like, I gotta lock in here. Have routines before you step up to the line, returning or serving, and so that you feel like your mind is where it needs to be and you're locked in. I mean, that's stuff that I've struggled with my whole tennis playing life, because I've always been pretty scatterbrained and all over the place. But I feel like that's something that I'm getting the hang of as I've gotten older too, and just more mature, is bringing that every time to when I play. Certain level of intensity for sure.
Yeah. All right. Last question here is if a kid wants to play D1 tennis, what is some advice you would give them?
If you want to play D1 tennis, I would say that well, if you love, I think you need to first of all love the game and have a passion for it, because if you don't, then it's going to make your work so much harder. If you don't have that kind of love and desire for it, and kind of a love to go out there and bust it every day, because it's a grind. No matter what, no matter if it's D3, D2, D1, to practice like that and train like that and play like that, it's a grind. So I think the number one thing is if you really want it, you got to have the passion for it first of all. But then I think, if that's there, then you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice a lot. You have to sacrifice missing, fun stuff in the summer to go play a level 3 or a level 2 somewhere. You have to sacrifice feeling, like going home and practicing just because you don't feel like it, and you show up and you work, and you have to sacrifice that way. You have to sacrifice your time going every day to play and to train and to work on things, sacrifice to go and travel around the state, locally or nationally, to go and play the tournaments and get the kind of results that you'd want. You need to sacrifice, money and time, and, that's just, it takes a lot to do it. But at the same time though, I think to play D1, I think you just have to, if you are driven yourself, and you're willing to show up every day and put in a certain quality of work, and you're guided by the right people coaching you and the right people surrounding you, then anything's possible, no matter what level you are when you start. Obviously, the earlier the better. It's tough if you start in 7th grade to try and go play D1, just because about the time you're in 7th, 8th grade, you're already trying to build kind of a certain portfolio or resume of success for coaches to look at. But I mean, if anybody puts in the time every day and is consistent, I think you can achieve things that you had no idea. I mean, I had no idea I would be in the position I am playing, even just playing at the school I'm playing at, let alone having any kind of, having any kind of success. So, and that just came from showing up every day and consistently putting in work the past bunch of years. And just my love of the game growing more and more as I played. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but hope trying to.
Yeah, it was a great answer though. Great. Because I know we always are talking about like, hey, like if these are your goals, there's certain things you're going to have to sacrifice or trade off in order to reach those goals,
Yeah.
so it's huge for people to hear that. So Nick, thanks so much for hopping on and taking the time. I know you just got back, so we really appreciate it, and thanks so much.
Oh, you're good. I love talking about this stuff, so I appreciate you having me.